Okay, good morning and welcome to our webinar on how to set up promotional products for e-commerce. It's obviously a hot topic at the moment as there are hundreds and hundreds of e-commerce products being sold around the world in business to business. In fact, a recent survey showed that a lot of people prefer in business to buy via e-commerce rather than having to ring up and talk to people. So our world is changing, but promotional products are a bit is, and we'll talk about it later, there's a lot of no minimum. So people order an order of one. And we have that confirmed by some of the biggest companies in the business like Vistaprint, who have said their conversion rates have improved dramatically when they've offered a minimum quantity of one. So tiered pricing is something we have to consider. The next thing, again, not too uncommon in e-commerce, is products are often available in a range method is a key because obviously people want to see what they're going to buy. Hence, there's a lot of sampling in the promotional products industry. The next challenge is number of colors in a logo, and we'll explore each of these in a little more detail. Now, obviously, the average customer isn't necessarily understanding of the number of colors in the logo, and with half tones and screen printing, it's not always easy to guesstimate the number of colors in a logo. The fifth point is setup charges. Now, setup charges are quite interesting because the consumer doesn't understand them. You know, we all know that you perhaps need to set up a screen for screen printing and that has a cost, but the consumer doesn't necessarily understand that. So they think they're being conned with promotional products when a setup charge is added at the end of the order. And finally, obviously, promotional products are produced on demand. They're not generally sitting there in stock unless there's a corporate program. So there are normally slightly longer lead times and other things. So those are the things that make promotional product different, which means you can't just buy an off-the-shelf e-commerce website and expect it to sell promotional products. So let's now look at some options. A mug is a very common promotional product, and the simplest way to handle it from an e-commerce point of view is to have a range of color choices. Obviously, being more sophisticated, you would change the color. This is a very base example. This product took me about a minute to set up for e-commerce, but obviously would take longer if I had to have different images for the different colors. And we'll talk about colors again slightly later on when we look at a more advanced example. The next thing people could do is say, want logo on both sides. And then we could give them the option to upload their logo, pay for the product, and send us the order. Now, the disadvantage of that approach, it's not really true e-commerce because we've then got to manually deal with the customer in making sure the artwork they've uploaded is right, getting them to sign off a proof. That can all be done electronically, but clearly that's not the smoothest e-commerce experience. So let's look at something a bit different now. Where on here, and it doesn't have to be 3D, I've just got an example of something in 3D. And we have a choice here where we're saying, well, what color do you want the mug? So it's obviously quite nice if it dynamically changes the color to allow people to visualize. And you could have a separate price for a color. The next thing we could choose is obviously people to add their logo. And the way we've got this example set up, it will actually detect the number of colors in the logo. So if I choose an image there that's got 3 colors, can you see there it says image colors 3, and it's adding an additional £1.50 to the job. So that's quite a sophisticated way of doing it. That won't be 100% perfect because we said half tones and things like that are often difficult to match, but it is pretty good, as in it can choose the number of colors. You can see I've just set these up as examples and do that. So in this particular case, we have a base price. We've added a price for the number of colors. We can also do things like packaging options. So if it's boxed together, or maybe we want them in an individual box. So again, that changes the pricing there to say they go in an individual box. And the thing that we've discussed earlier that people do get a little confused with our industry on, and that's why we have a setup charge at the bottom. And then obviously, as we increase the quantity, it changes the price and will accommodate different price breaks. So that's really e-commerce as it's more sophisticated. You can have a product on the screen. You can change the price on colors if you wish. You can change the price on artwork options. Now, the one thing we haven't covered here is different decoration methods. Now, our recommendation for everything to do with e-commerce online is that you keep it simple. So some of the rules that you've always worked on for selling in the office, you've perhaps got to forget now. So, things like having different price breaks for different numbers of colors. It's much easier to say it's 50p a color. Now, there is a school of thought, which I do subscribe to, with the modern manufacturing methods, to say really with a sublimation mug, you don't have to charge a different price for the number of colors. So although that may make the product expensive, in the smaller volumes, people are less bothered. They want to place an order now. So it's a kind of more straightforward approach to maybe if you were selling mugs online, just to offer a sublimated one. Because that way you know that you're not going to come a cropper on the price each time. So whatever they upload, 1 color, 2 color, 3 color, 4 color, the price will remain the same. So pretty much you can say this mug will cost you £5 printed. And you can stick with that price. And there doesn't have to be any of this extra complication by having a setup charge, by changing the price for the number of colors. So although this does it quite nicely and neatly for you, it's still confusing for the average consumer. Not for us, because we work with it every day, but for consumers doing e-commerce. So the recommendation really is that you don't confuse them and you allow just a simple, this mug will be X, and have the tiered pricing, if you have 10. And there are some good sublimation suppliers out there now that can do this. And the digital UV machines are coming in that can do this now. And you can buy the machines yourselves for small runs. So that's probably your option. So the last point we're going to cover today is maybe a product like a leather diary here, where you can actually see it's embossed. And if I go on to here, we could say, right, I want that in gold. So it will emulate that in gold, because ultimately that product is not available in 4 color. So you can't allow someone to upload a 4 color. So if I went add image, and you can see there, the beauty of online, people can store their images in lots of different places. But if we went in there and we chose, I'll use the BT one, because that's got quite a few colors in it. So if we go open and it uploads that logo now, you can see that it turns it into a one color spot color. And that will give the diary producer, and again, there's a couple of good diary producers now that can do one volume. So they're not offering, and people do offer a full color print on a diary now, but this particular product is only available in those options. So it's only available in degloss, black, silver, white. And you saw I uploaded a 4-color BT logo, and the system converts it to a block color for gold in this case. And obviously that's perfectly good enough for people to place orders. And that's a much stronger approach than this particular approach, where if I'd uploaded my BT logo, I'd have picked choose file there, picked my BT logo, which then sends me the BT logo, but it doesn't demonstrate to me that that's only available in one color. And it still gives the distributor, if you like, all the work of managing that order. So true e-commerce for promotional products should be not having to manage the whole order. And that's the objective. So although, and some of you will prefer the approach, we have the option of changing the colors, charging differently for 4 colors, etc. The simpler approach is to ignore all of that and just allow a straight upload of color. So one price, one solution. But it's obviously up to you guys what your business strategy is. All I wanted to do in this short presentation is explain your options for setting up your products for e-commerce. Now, as you may have gathered from the start of the webinar, this is a new bit of webinar software we haven't used before, so we're just getting used to it. So any questions, please do email myself in this instance, andrew@gateway3d.com, and I'll be happy to provide more examples or explain any of the points in more detail. Unfortunately, Ian, who was going to run this webinar, was off sick this morning, but instead of postponing it, I thought I would just drop in and hopefully do a reasonable explanation of how this might work. So also happy just to send you this brief slide if anybody wants it or doesn't capture it off their screen. What makes the products different? So tiered prices, I would say, yep, that's okay for most e-commerce sites. Range of colors, again, okay, but it's nice to show on screen so the user can actually see. Because imagine really, how many e-commerce products would you buy online that you couldn't see? So that's why online preview is so important if selling promotional products. Different color, number of logos. I say our recommendation is, if you can, is eliminate this. Your base price may be more expensive, but ultimately this is about convenience for everyone involved and not a rush to the bottom with the cheapest price. Try and eliminate setup charges, which you can if you go down the digital stroke sublimation route, and obviously there are other methods. Even embroidery now. And I'll probably give you one last example before we finish. This is a site called productpersonalisationapps.com. You can see the title in the browser. By all means, go there and have a look. We've got hundreds of examples of different types of products sold e-commerce. So if I use the clothing example just to demonstrate the embroidery, so there's various different options there. I know this one I've set up for online embroidery, which probably technically isn't a great idea because I don't think you necessarily would embroider a fluorescent gilet. But if I just take the concept here, we change the color, we're going to add logo text so it zooms in on that area. If I go and choose to add image and choose again the BT logo, what it actually does is goes off and gets, can you see that on your screen now? A stitch pattern for that logo. And again, we can apply an additional charge for doing that if wanted. And we actually deliver an embroidery file in EMB format or we can do a couple of other key formats to the user. So again, that's showing how effective e-commerce can be for something as complex as embroidery. So hopefully you've found the presentation useful this morning. It's designed to be quick. If you have any questions, please let us know and enjoy the rest of your day.